On the 19th of July 1955, the specially reformed ILT orchestra played the final notes of God Save the Queen. The near-record first night audience of 400 settled in their seats in the Ipswich Town Hall, and the President, Mr. Les Thomas, invited the Mayor, Alderman James Finnemore, to open up the inaugural Ipswich Little Theatre Drama Festival, the first of its kind in Queensland. A glorious tradition had begun. This first venture was in the capable hands of Annie McKenna, who was to hold the position of Director Stage Manager for the first 5 years until 1960. Over the next 3 nights, 1,650 patrons were to enjoy 11 plays, starting with Brisbane Arts, A Boy with a Cart, and including our own contribution, The Distant Drum, which had in its cast Patricia Walsh, who had directed ILT's first ever play, The Blue Goose, in 1946, and our much-loved Jean Pratt, who was to act in or direct a further 9 festival plays. The adjudicator, English playwright, producer and theatre critic Geoffrey Thomas, commented that the venture had been such an outstanding success that it would be a tragedy if it were decided to make this the first and last Queensland Drama Festival at Ipswich. Our second adjudicator in 1956 and 57 was the larger-than-life Tasmanian teacher of drama, Douglas Caddy, who instigated the Douglas Caddy Trophy, given over a number of years, variously to country groups, smaller groups, and finally a group which had not won a major prize at an ILT festival. Kevin Steele tells us, "The first festival I saw was the second. My sister and I rode our bikes into the town hall during the 3-night season. Actually, we didn't ride our bikes into the town hall, we parked them outside. I can't remember the plays, but I vividly remember the closing ceremony. It was the job of the President, Les Thomas, and before doing so, he turned to the adjudicator, Douglas Caddy, and said, 'You've spent the last few nights sitting in a comfortable chair adjudicating. Now it's your turn to make a contribution.' Caddy immediately obliged. King Francis was a hearty king and loved a royal sport, and so on for all 24 lines of the poem. Beryl Johnson, who first appeared in a festival play in 1957, says that theatre was very important in Ipswich at the time. From 1958, the adjudicator announced after the Friday session that 3 finalists were to perform again on the Saturday night. Not surprisingly, this night was a sellout. The early festivals were very elegant affairs, the men in dinner suits and the ladies in gowns and furs, the orchestra playing. The sartorically splendid President, Mr. Les Thomas, greeted patrons at the door. Not only were the plays extensively critiqued in the Queensland Times, but so too were the ladies' gowns. Beryl recalls with amusement that the elegant effect was somewhat spoilt as many patrons arrived armed with cushions and rugs to combat the hard seats and the July cold of the unheated town hall. Many years later, Lorna Longston heard accounts from orchestra member Mervyn Frost at Silkstone State School, where he still played his flute at school functions. Lorna said, "I was sad that I had arrived too late to experience those marvellous elegant days at the town hall." Awards in their own festival had eluded ILT directors and actors, but in 1963, theatre stalwart Bob Donald directed Behind My Skull with a cast including Beryl Johnson, Bob Lynch and Wally Ryan, in which Beryl tied for Best Actress in a record number of 20 entries. 1966 was a standout year for ILT. The festival was opened by our first ILT director, Patricia Walsh, and adjudicated by Alan Denby, who had directed the very first festival play in 1955. This festival marked the first appearance of Sheila Dunlop and John Donovan from Mercury Theatre Wynnum. This company and ILT were the only groups with plays in all 12 of the festivals to date. For the first time, ILT took our Best Actor award when Kevin Halliwell won the prize for his role in Women Alive. Of interest in this year also is the scathing editorial in the Queensland Times re the condition of the town hall in response to the adjudicator's comments that the time had come for Ipswich to have its own little theatre building. Denby innocently recommended the theatre buy an old building. Why? Asked the QT editor. They're already performing in one. A Wally Ryan production of Behind My Skull in 1967 saw Diane Adams and Ian Puller appearing for ILT for the first time. By now, however, despite the reasonable admission costs, audiences were elusive. Adjudicator Brian Cannon remarked, "The Ipswich presentation equalled that of the southern states, yet the audience response was practically non-existent. About 40 people attended last night's performance in the town hall." And the QT further reported the large majority of Ipswich people were apparently more content to sit at home watching television. For Kevin Steele, times were changing. He says, "It had been a wonderful era before TV. Les Thomas was always the president. John Wilde always loaned most of his furniture. Jim Finnemore was always the mayor. Bob Menzies was always the prime minister. Beryl Johnson starred in all the plays, and all was well in the world." However, despite this, 1968 was a year to remember. Pre-season advertising reported that festival secretary, Patty Pratt, was very busy scheduling 19 plays over 5 nights. But Namble failed to arrive on the first night, Stanthorpe on Thursday, and in fact, in the end, only 13 of the original entries were performed. It was a nightmare. But Dark Out There, directed by Jean Pratt, won ILT Best Play for the first time, with Wally Ryan and Beryl Johnson Best Actor and Actress respectively. Excitement knew no bounds, and the old town hall shuddered under the stamping, cheering and clapping. 1969 marked the final festival in this now totally inadequate barn, the Ipswich Town Hall, which was about to be closed down. But there was excitement when Jean Pratt presented the prizes to Beryl Johnson, who won Best Producer for The Faithful Widow of Ephesus, which took out second prize. Ted Callagher shared Best Actor, while Patty Pratt won Best Actress. This final ILT production in the Town Hall was to be reprised as the opening performance in the new Incinerator Theatre later that year.
Patty, what do you remember most about your days as a performer in the Town Hall?
Well, the first festival that I was in the Town Hall, was a nerve-wracking experience because I'd never been in a festival before, and they were pretty important things to have. But it was performing on that big stage to an almost empty hall which echoed everywhere around the place, and yes, just being terrified.
While the move to the incinerator was the start of a wonderful period in the theatre's history, the decision to house the 16th festival there in 1970 proved less than successful. It must be remembered that at this time there was no infrastructure whatsoever. No balcony, no courtyard, kitchen or toilet facilities. Without the necessary amenities, it was little short of a disaster, and it is probably fortunate that there were only 7 entries. However, there was success on the performance front for ILT, with adjudicator Bill Pepper awarding first prize to Kevin Halliwell's production of The Rats, while Ian Puller's In Camera won third prize. A solution to the problems of the inadequate incinerator was found in 1971 when the trustees of the Ipswich Girls Grammar School agreed that the festival could be held over the June Queen's Birthday weekend in their assembly hall, and this was to be the venue for the next 30 years. This year marked the end of Kevin Steele's 10-year stint as director and stage manager. It was the start of a new era, and while most members today would not have known many of the people mentioned so far, it is they that we have to thank for their brave idea and for pioneering the festival movement in Queensland, so their contribution should not be overlooked.